Welcome to this Bridgewater Now update. I'm John Luck. Last week at the fire station, family members and firefighters were in attendance as Bridgewater Fire Chief Tom Levy retired after 36 years of service. Levy has been the fire chief here in town since 2016. Deputy Fire Chief Michael McDermott has been named as the acting fire chief effective October 9th. Town Manager Michael Dutton had this to say on McDermott's new role: "I know he will exemplify the spirit of teamwork we have created over the past few years. I am looking forward to working with Acting Chief McDermott and the entire department on creative and innovative ways to make modern firefighting a truly professional calling." Dutton went on to say that we are confident that he is committed to continuing the exceptional work of retiring Chief Thomas Levy. Over the next few months, the town will begin the process of permanently filling the vacancy. The Bridgewater Police Department will be participating in National Drug Take-Back Day. It's coming up next Saturday, October 24th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the police station on Pleasant Street. This is a biannual chance for members of the community to dispose of potentially dangerous, expired, unwanted, or unused prescription drugs. Residents will also be able to get rid of vape pens and e-cigarettes, but only without batteries. Any pens or e-cigarettes with batteries will not be accepted by the police department. If you can't make it to the police station on October 24th, there is a take-back box inside the station that residents can use. For more information on National Drug Take-Back Day, visit deatakeback.com. Turning to health, and Halloween is just around the corner, and masks are pretty important for many costumes. However, during a pandemic, not all masks are created equal. If you are wearing a costume, doctors say that it's important to remember only certain masks are effective against the spread of coronavirus.
We know that cloth masks that have 2 layers of cloth are the best way to protect yourself when you're out trick-or-treating. So try to incorporate that as part of your costume. Try to find some cloth that matches your costume and make your own masks.
Research suggests that surgical and cloth masks are the best way to reduce spreading droplets. When it comes to cloth masks, though 1 layer is okay, 2 layers will provide you better protection. It's also very important to remember that a mask needs to be worn over your mouth and your nose to be most effective. And if your costume has an actual mask, you don't want to double up the masks.
To have a mask on that we know that's protective against transmitting COVID, and then to try and put another costume mask over the top of it, it's probably not going to be an easy fit. It's going to be difficult to try to breathe in, and it's just going to cut down on the amount of fun that you're trying to have on trick or treat. So let's stick with the cloth masks.
And a reminder that a fundraiser was started by the Bridgewater 4th of July Committee to find the best Halloween decorated house. It costs $10 to enter, and decorations should be up and ready to view by October 25th. To pay the $10 entry fee, visit bridgewaterma4th.com, and the fee will be near the top of the page. Plus, don't forget we have the BTV Pumpkin Contest, where the best designed pumpkin will be awarded with a $25 gift certificate to Skinner's Sugar House. Again, family-friendly designs can be sent to jluck@btvaccess.com with the subject line Pumpkin Contest. And the deadline for submissions is October 27th. Bridgewater, along with the rest of the cities and towns here in the Bay State, will begin early voting for the general election coming up this Saturday, October 17th. And here's a schedule to vote at the Academy Building. Saturday the 17th and Sunday the 18th will have early voting hours of 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. During the week on Monday through Thursday, the hours will be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and on Friday, the hours will be 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. This will be repeated for the weekdays on the following week. A reminder that Saturday, October 24th, is the last day to register to vote for the general election, and the Academy Building will be open to vote early on that day from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. The final day of early voting is Friday, October 30th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. There are some changes from 2016, which was the first year of widespread early voting. In Bridgewater, the Academy Building will hold the early voting in the council chambers, but since we are in a pandemic, there are some safety protocols being used to keep residents and workers safe. To vote, you'll enter through the front doors and go to the second floor in the council chambers. There will be social distance markers on the floor and out the front doors. Masks will be required, and there will be hand sanitizer available for when residents are entering the building. If you need the elevator, no more than 1 person will be allowed inside unless you are with a family member that you live with. And after you vote in the council chambers, you'll exit the room and go to the right and use a staircase that will bring you to the Bedford Street exit of the building. If you are unable to use the stairs, you will be able to use the elevator, again with a maximum capacity of 1 except for family members. Earlier this week, we had part 1 of my interview with Dr. Jason Edwards from Bridgewater State University. We talked about some of the communication strategies of the 2020 presidential election. In part 2, we talk about how this election will be viewed in history books and how the campaigns need to factor in the multiple ways that we can cast votes early. We've seen countless celebrities and sports athletes telling people to go out and vote. I know I've seen it as an NBA viewer, getting the push out there to get people to vote. Is it possible we look back at this election in 20 or 30 years as a true turning point? And what could that legacy look like in a history book?
I certainly think this will be probably, if the predictions hold up, this will be the greatest turnout of Americans, both the amount of votes and the percentage of Americans voting, certainly since 1908. In terms of largest percentage, it should be the most amount of people that have ever voted. Some people are estimating 150 million people will vote, which is 12 million more than voted in 2016, where you had a fairly normal, even a lower voter turnout. But that 65% of Americans could vote. Now, compare that to other democracies, and we are still, way down on the totem pole in terms of people participating, or at least participating in terms of voting in their democracy. But for Americans, for American presidential elections, that's huge. That has not happened, as I mentioned, since 1908. That's the last time we have that kind of record voting. So I think this will certainly go down in history as one of the largest participatory campaigns in terms of people voting, which again is a good thing. We want people to vote more. We want turnout to be large. At least generally speaking, we want turnout to be large.
And one aspect of voting, we were talking about this before we started the discussion here, is mail-in voting, early voting, absentee voting. You gave some pretty mind-boggling numbers when we talked about this, but what changes to the campaigns have to be made over the next 26 days from when we're recording this need to be made when factoring in the mail-in voting, early voting, and a year where those three will probably account for a decent amount of votes? Right.
I think on the Democratic side, they're going to just continue to push people to vote. I mean, I think that at the end of the vice presidential debate last night, again, we're recording this 26 days before the election. Vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris, was constantly saying, pointing into the camera, go out and vote, make a plan to vote. You heard Michelle Obama at the Democratic National Convention, get prepared to vote. And I think that the Trump campaign is, you haven't heard as much complaining about mail-in voting over the last week or so. Now, part of that is perhaps because the president was hospitalized with the coronavirus, and hopefully he is, by all accounts, he and his wife are on the mend, and that's always a wonderful thing. But Trump they've kind of toned down the rhetoric against mail-in voting. In fact, Trump was tweeting, I think it was yesterday, for in Arizona, for people to get out early and vote for his supporters and to request a mail ballot. The campaign has been railing against this idea of mail-in voting, primarily when it comes to the unsolicitation of ballots, meaning that some states have just decided to send out ballots to all of its registered voters. For example, Nevada decided to move to a 100% mail-in voting election. California was the same kind of way. Whereas other states, you have to actually request an absentee ballot, drop it off, or put it in the mail, or whatever it might be. So you can certainly say there's a difference between the two. But I think that the Trump campaign is going to make a greater push for this vote, and are voting early and try to get his supporters to get out there, because there's evidence to say that he might be actually suppressing the vote of his own supporters. With the coronavirus and so forth, because traditionally mail voting, Republicans are much better than Democrats when it comes to early voting, mail-in voting, particularly in places like Florida. But that is not the case in this election. And I think, a lot of that has to do with Democratic motivation, the coronavirus, but both sides are very, very motivated. Most Trump supporters will probably vote on election day compared to Democratic supporters. So if Democrats don't continue with their early lead with mail-in voting, Republicans, could have a chance to certainly overtake them on election day. There is an interesting website to check out for early voting stats. Visit electproject.org, and on the homepage there's a link titled 2020 Early Vote Tracker.
That page has state-by-state breakdowns, and as of this taping, there have been a combined 51.6 million ballots requested among all political parties for the election, which is less than 3 weeks away. Thanks for watching this Bridgewater Now update. I'm John Love.